If you've been a baseball fan for a while, a list of the World Series winners by the year will take you back through the stages of your own life. Like how you and your dad were jumping around in front of the black and white living room TV right along with Carl Fisk in Game 6 of the 1975 Classic. Or how you griped to your friends at school the next day after Don Denkinger dinked up Game 6 in 1985. Or how the Braves ruined your fall semester in college in 1995. Or how you barely even noticed what was happening in 2015. Kids, job, hassles, until someone mentioned that the Royals were about to take it all. Whether these were your exact scenarios or not, I'll bet dollars to donuts the general sentiment fits your fandom. And I'll bet too that this list of World Series winners by year, accompanied by a representative baseball card for each decade, will get your memories all stirred up. We all know that the Chicago Cubs suffered through a century-plus World Series drought, but the truth is, they were the bomb in the first decade of the Fall Classic. The Cubbies took two series in a row in 1907 and 1908, which accounted for a third of all championships in the 1900s. The team even inspired some poetry, courtesy of their famed double play combination. Like the Cubs, the Boston Red Sox went forever between championships, 86 years in fact. But before they fell under the curse of the Bambino in 1919, they were the classic franchise of the game in 1910s, nabbing titles in 1912, 1915, 1916, and 1918. This success was due in no small part to a dude they sold off to induce the aforementioned curse. Where Ruth went, wins followed, and the New York Yankees rode the stallion to 6 World Series appearances and 3 championships in the 1920s. Turns out the Bombers were just getting started as the Great Depression dawned, and with Ruth pushing into his 30s, Lou Gehrig emerged as maybe the greatest player in the game in the new decade. That combo, plus a cadre of other superstars, pushed New York to 5 titles in the 1930s. Even as Gehrig succumbed to the disease that today bears his name, young Joe DiMaggio was building himself into the next Yankees legend. With Joe D in center, New York continued to dominate the sport and copped 4 more World Series titles in the 1940s. Yankee hitting became something of a national hobby in the 1950s, as yet another New York Yankee youngster, Mickey Mantle, ascended to lead yet another Bomber streak of dominance. In the 1950s, New York won a ridiculous 6 titles and came within 2 wins of 2 more crowns. The Yankees won 2 more titles in the early 1960s, but the St. Louis Cardinals and the Los Angeles Dodgers joined them in the 2 title circle. And with the 1959 World Series crown and the transcendent Sandy Koufax on their side, it's tough to pick anyone but the Dodgers as the team of the 1960s. The 1970s were a great time for dynasties, as the Oakland A's won 3 consecutive titles in the early part of the decade. The Yankees took 2 in a row, 1977 through 1978, and the Pittsburgh Pirates scored rings in 1971 and 1979. But there was only one big red machine, and even though the Cincinnati Reds won only 2 series of the decade, they appeared in 2 more and topped 6 National League MVP awards. And of all the superstars who wore Cincinnati Reds in the 1970s, it was little Joe Morgan who paced the team at their 1975-76 peak. The 1980s were all about parity when it came to championships, with 10 different teams winning the 10 different World Series that decade. Of all those clubs, though, it was the 1984 Detroit Tigers who felt like a dynasty in the moment, and who ran away with the whole sport that magical summer. Their plucky Hall of Fame shortstop, Alan Trammell, was named the MVP of the Fall Classic that October. The 1990s were almost like 2 different decades, delimiting by the ugly strike that canceled the 1994 World Series and shortened the 1995 season. On the front side, you had the Toronto Blue Jays and their rings in 1992 and 1993. But then after the fall, who should emerge but our old friends, the New York Yankees? From 1996 through 1999, the Yankees won 3 series, with another one in 2000, and the youngster Derek Jeter established himself as a legend. In 2004, the Red Sox finally broke through to win the World Series after decades and decades of near misses. That win changed the entire tenor of the franchise, and they won another title in 2007 and 2 more in the 2010s. Along the way, Big Papi became a baseball god and likely punched his ticket to Cooperstown as a designated hitter. Even though the Sox added to their title count in the 2010s, and even though the Royals, Cubs, and Houston Astros broke their own championship droughts, none of them could match the San Francisco Giants when it came to October glory. Copying titles every other year from 2010 to 2014, San Fran had us all believing that even-numbered years would always end in the Bay. And the face of the franchise, especially when it came to big games, was the dude the world called Mad Bum. Like this video? Then remember to like this video. waxpackgods.com